Andy Johnson. This is our second monthly webinar looking at reading and struggling readers. Here I'm going to look at emotions, stress, and struggling readers. Here's some of the things I hope to look at tonight. This is a recording of a webinar if you're watching this on YouTube. First of all, reading instruction. Understand, big idea. There's no super secret strategy that only super secret specially trained teachers can use. There's no best program. There's no magic bullet. There are magic teachers, but there's no single approach or strategy that works best for all students. Understand that up front. We often are led to believe that if we get just the right program or use just the right strategy, that all children can learn to read. But as you know, as parents and teachers, students are not standardized products. What works for one may not work for another. So let's look at what happens when the fight or flight mechanism kicks in. This is an extreme example. There I am, a 60-year-old man standing on the edge of a 5-story building. For charity, I volunteered to go over the edge. If you look closely at that picture, you can see a 60-year-old bald man about ready to cry. They're giving me instructions on what to do and how to work the pulleys and all that stuff. See the little microphone there, or the little walkie-talkie? Here I am trying to follow along. She's saying, do this, do that, and you can do that. And here's the fight or flight mechanism. I'm breathing hard. My eyes are focused. The muscles are tensing. But the brain is not working too well. All the blood is shunted from the frontal lobes into this fight or flight mechanism, and I didn't remember anything that I was told. That's a frightened little bald man going down 5 stories. And you can see this, a recording.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can't hear it, thankfully, but I was dangling 5 stories above the ground, screaming and swearing because I was very frightened. That's what happens. That's an extreme example that, and it illustrates what our students feel like. And I'll explain a little bit more, but let's get beyond the numbers first of all. Beware of the number monkeys who try to enumerate the whole world, all of reality, who try to describe your child in terms of numbers generated on standardized tests. Fancy graphs, technical terms, complicated stuff, percentile rankings do not make a thing more real. Putting numbers to nonsense does not make it any more nonsensical. These standardized tests that we give our children are not a true and very accurate portrayal of what they can do. They're just a little snapshot taken in time. Numbers never get to the true understanding of things. These standardized tests, even though they have fancy graphs and complicated terms, do not know and understand your child, your student, as much as you do. If we look at just the quantitative data, now here's a young lady I was working with, and had I looked at just the quantitative data, I would have said, oh, based on that, I need to do this. But in talking with her father said, yeah, she's feeling a little bit uncertain, unconfident. She doesn't want to make mistakes. I got a lot more qualitative and good data talking with the father than I would have on any stinking test or using just numbers. I realized that I needed to provide a lot of confidence and reassurance. This girl could probably read pretty good for a first grade student. She reads pretty good. I've been working with her. A lot of it is just confidence because she doesn't want to make a mistake. Quantitative data would have never gotten me past that. So, what do you do with all this stuff? That's the question. Okay, based on that fancy graph, see it down there, based on all this test data, okay, so what? What exactly do I do on Monday morning? What do I teach? How do I use it? As a parent, okay, here's my child. What exactly do I do? You've told me how far this child is away from average, 17th percentile or 40th or what. Okay, then what? As I said, standardized tests are just a snapshot of time. It's not like the observations of a parent or a teacher that occur over time and provide context. So they are not always very accurate or valid. As well, you will notice when working with students, when you have to assess, they sometimes have a negative reaction to being tested. I see that as a tutor. I pull out the test and I can see the child tense up. Here's another guy making me do stuff I can't do very well, showing me how much of a failure I am, how much I can't read. That's that negative and emotional reaction to being tested. Now, know that testing companies, there's nothing wrong with making a profit, but that is their purpose, is to make a profit. They're for profit, not for money. They tend to trot out data. Here's data. But research is different from data. Anyone can have data. Research is peer review to check for methodology and other things. So the observations of you, dear parents and teachers, are to be trusted. You're more in tune with your child's emotions. You know what's happening. And classroom teachers, you have the knowledge and experience to understand what is happening. Do not abdicate that. Do not give that away to some testing company in New York someplace who doesn't know you, your situation, your child, and all this other stuff. We need to focus on emotions as well. They can't be measured, so they tend not to exist, but emotions are probably one of the most important thing in understanding how struggling readers are performing. We think, we emote with the same brain. It would be silly to think that emotions don't affect learning, don't affect learning to read. We need to attend to them, but we often don't in this psychometric world we live in. Why? Because we can't measure emotions and put them on a test. Therefore, we say, oh, they don't exist, they're not important. But emotions, especially with young children, are incredibly important. We are more emotional than logical than coming to know reality, more so with young children. Positive emotional experiences, research has shown, enhance learning. Negative emotional experiences disrupt learning. Negative emotions such as fear of failure or frustration, the fight or flight mechanism kicks in. There's research to support that. So you can say, I can say, we can say with confidence that attending to emotions can be considered a research-based strategy. So the brain, everything we do with our learners should be informed by how the brain learns, how the brain creates meaning with reality, how the brain creates meaning with print, as you're reading, and the brain's responses to emotion, the impact on thinking, on cognition that emotions have. We should look at how our learning organ learns and attend to that. Now, it starts with understanding reading. Reading is not sounding out words, as is commonly thought. Reading is creating meaning with print. One of the problems in reading world in general is that too many people outside of literacy think of reading, this is called a simple view of reading, as simply sounding out words. As such, students who are struggling readers get more sounding out word instruction. That's not very fun. Sounding out words is not something children want to do, and it's not very effective either. Reading good books is fun. Talking about good books, meaning-based instruction, these are more pleasurable, more fun, and they are more effective. But this means that we have to have a more thorough, more complex understanding of the reading process, of how the brain creates meaning with print. Now, yes, struggling readers often struggle with letter-sound relationships. Absolutely. But this is only one part of reading instruction and one way to recognize words as you're reading. But if this is all we focus on, we want them to do more of what they can't do well, so they can't do well even more. That doesn't make sense. Instead, yes, we attend to letter-sound relationships. We do phonics instruction, but we also focus on what they can do well and include other things, and I'll show you that in a minute. But a struggling sounder outer is different from a struggling readers. By focusing only on sounder outer instruction, we create struggling readers. Their growth becomes stymied if that's all our struggling readers are given is more phonics. Sound it out, we say, because that's all we know what to say. I'll show you some other ideas tonight. But a big thing, word recognition is different from word identification. Let's understand that difference first. Word recognition is when you see a word in print and you instantly recognize it. You know what it is. Your neural pathways are developed so you recognize letter patterns in words instantly, automatically. Hopefully you're doing that right now. You see the word word and you don't have to go, duh. You recognize it automatically. Automaticity means that it's done automatically without thinking of it. The word is in your lexicon, which is the dictionary in your head, and you instantly know what it is. And that's the goal of reading instruction. Word identification is you see a word, it's in your lexicon, but you need some sort of strategy to figure out what it is. You consciously employ a strategy. You say to yourself, here is a word. I do not recognize it. I need to use some strategy. Now, our brain uses 3 cueing systems to recognize a word. To do this automatically, word recognition. It uses semantics, which is context. It uses syntax, which is grammar and word order, and it uses phonics, or the phonological cueing system, which is letter sounds. Phonics is the least efficient of these in terms of the space it takes up in short-term memory and the amount of time. Word identification is a strategy, and we'll talk about that in another webinar, some specific strategies. But it's the least efficient, and an overemphasis on phonics can actually impede students' progress in reading. And again, this doesn't mean that phonics shouldn't be taught, but it's one of 3 ways the brain cues. It's called a cueing system. Cues the brain as to what that word is, and we need to include activities to develop all 3 of these, and I'll show you some tonight. It's one of 4 ways to identify, 4 strategies to use, and is the least efficient. I was working with a student. She's reading fine. She sees a word. She stops. She slows down. She looks at individual letters. She starts to sound them out. And I said to her, I saith unto you, I said, just say blank and move on. She says blank, moves on. Boop. She instantly knows what the word is. Context, more efficient. If that's all you're using, you're going to impede the student's progress. No, we don't do that. That would take too long. Use too much space in working memory. We use minimal letter clues when we read. You're not reading every single letter. And your eyes do not fixate, and that would be a great topic as well, eye movement and reading. You can only see, the brain only sees that which you fixate on, and our eyes tend to go like this, letter by letter, and they don't stop on every single word. So here is proof, and I know some of you are saying, oh, you're a goofy little bald man. Those 3 cueing systems don't exist. I get a lot of that online, by the way, and that's okay. Proof. Following paragraph contains 110 words. I want you to read it as quickly as you can. You can stop the video if you want, but I'll do a little pause. Read it as quickly as you can. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the same 110 words, and I want you to read it as quickly as you can. You can do this out loud if you want. And go. What? What? Whoa! Whoa! If you notice, the words are written, same words, but I put the paragraph backwards. All right, so you're reading them backwards. You are probably noticing, away, drove, and car. His in, jumped, could. If you read it out loud, you'd sound just like our struggling readers often sound, reading word by word. The words were the same in both paragraphs. What was different? There was no word order to clue the brain in. There's no grammar, there's no punctuation, there was no context or meaning to help you understand. Now, if reading was simply sounding out words, as many people insist, your reading rate, accuracy, fluency, and your eye movement would have been the same in both paragraphs. Now, let's take a look at eye movement. Notice how your eye movement changes. Go ahead and read that paragraph. And you're probably going, oh yeah, your eyes are kind of going like this, pretty smooth. All right, now watch how your eyes move. Read this one. You'll probably notice your eyes go boop, 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 very choppy, very much like this. This is what happens if we overemphasize phonics and have our students focusing letter by letter, word by word. We want them to focus on very few letter clues and use clues on both sides of the words. I often tell my students to say blank and keep moving on, and I'll talk more about that. So, what are the implications of this? Include activities to develop all three cueing systems, and I'll give you some tonight. You want to use authentic connected text to the greatest extent possible. Yes, you can teach phonics, but use real sentences, real books, real writing to the greatest extent possible. You want to limit those instances when students see words in isolation, because that is not reality. Very rarely, if ever, in our real world existence do we see a single word floating in space without some sort of context. It's a sign, it's on a building, it's a label on a box, but there's always a context to help us understand. And we should focus on creating meaning with print versus sounding out words. That's what, if you're listening to your child read, the child is reading out loud, miscues, or does not say exactly what's on the page, resist the urge to jump in and correct the child. Focus on creating meaning with print. And oftentimes, they're still creating meaning even though the word is miscued. So, 4 strategies I promised. Strategy number 1, this is a great one, a sentence strip. Have a sentence written on a strip of paper, cut it into individual words, mix them up, and have the child put them back together. Now, you can focus on letter patterns if you want. If you're focusing on the short A letter pattern or a 2-word digraph or whatever it is, beginning, you can include those in the sentence. I like using this as a post-reading activity based on the book they just read. If I'm in the classroom or tutoring, I put these in an envelope so I can use them on another day or with other students. If you're working at home, put them in an envelope and go back and review these every once in a while. After a couple days, you have a whole bunch of these. This should take, I would say, 3 to 10 minutes at the most. Keep it fun. I sometimes, working with students, they do it once, so I'll time them to see if they can get faster each time. Make it a game. You can go online. You can find a lot of these online, sentence mix-up, and I'll give you some Google search terms. But these are, you can buy commercial ones. You can buy them. Oh, yes, you can. Or you can make your own. Sentence mix-ups come in a variety of ways, but they're having to use grammar and word order to create meaning with the sentence. That's that syntactic cueing system. Sentence mix-up as part of a PowerPoint. And I like using PowerPoint because I can get through them very quickly, do a lot of them in a short amount of time, 3 to 6 minutes. Now, I'm focusing on a letter pattern here. This is the short A. We're working on short A. Apple, All right, notice how. Ran away the cat. What do you think the sentence will be? Do you know what the sentence is yet? Tell me when you think you know what the sentence is. And usually at about this time, they know what the sentence is. With younger students, I have clues, and we teach them that. We want this to be readily apparent. We're not trying to challenge them. We're trying to develop the syntactic cueing system so they do this automatically as they read, and then finally they get it. And again, I'm reinforcing the short A. So yes, I'm attending to phonics, but this is a twofer. I'm also dealing with the syntax cueing system. Cueing words and word clues are a little bit different. I won't get into that, but you see you get the idea here. All right. Do a Google search, sentence mix-up, sentence scramble, sentence jumble. You come up with a lot of stuff there, and use them as you would. But they're all good as long as they're seeing a jumbled up sentence and having to put them back together. Close, and that is the correct spelling, by the way. Students see a sentence, either in a book or on a piece of paper or whatever. One word is missing, or only the first letter clue is there, and I'll show you some of these. This is 3 to 6 minutes a day, and you can reinforce letter sounds. Now, here's a teacher. She has a poster, and she simply puts a Post-it over them. You can use this with books students are reading if the print is large enough. Now, I'm reinforcing the short A sound again, and you see the sentences. I had a dream, and I tell the students, say blank, because there's clues on both sides. Do they get this in one time? No. Do they learn? No, but you are developing the neural pathways, so over time they do this automatically. We don't want students to think about this. We want them to automatically look on both sides of the word for clues so they don't get slowed down. I'm glad to blank use, and these occur very quickly. You see it again. If you're creating these, targets words should always be abundantly obvious, as I said, where are teaching them to look for and use sentence clues. She got m and went home. Sometimes if I'm mad, I go, yeah, mad. Yes, there's clues on both sides of the word. So I say blank and read the sentence. That's called close. You can do it in a variety of ways. Use your imagination, adopt and adapt. And the last one, I've kind of alluded to it. If you're reading out loud with a child or your students, say blank and keep reading. And 9 times out of 10, after they say blank and keep moving on, they'll go back and correct it. It's quicker. Teach this as a strategy and reinforce it when they do it. All right, nice job. Yes, you moved on, you found the clue, and you came back. You were looking for clues on both sides of the word. Say blank. That's a very, very effective. All right, a bit more about emotions. As I said, we emote and we think with the same brain. It's silly to think that one would not affect the other. 6 basic emotions. You can see them there: anger, fear, surprise, sadness, happiness, and disgust. These are physiological responses, our body reacting. And these emotions last for about 15 seconds. That's it. They'll last longer if we dwell on the emotion. But it's a physiological response designed so our species would survive, for the evolution of our species. Now, when we look at fear, there are variations of this. You're afraid you don't want to look stupid or like a failure or not feeling good enough. Stress, anxiety, nervousness, concern, tension. And as a parent, and you are more in tune with this probably than a classroom teacher, but teachers who are in tune with their children, you see this, begin to notice some of the signs. Our bodies have a natural response to fear. We're hardwired not to get eaten. That's the fight or flight mechanism. Our body reacts. Oh my gosh. All right. You can't reason away emotions. Oh, don't be afraid because, don't be concerned because. I remember working with a 3rd grade student who had a horrible experience at school. I was tutoring the child after school, and the child shut down, didn't want to do anything. There's no amount of reasoning. Well, if you do this, then we can play a game. No, you can't. And you know this as parents. So I used a great strategy, and you may want to try this. You simply say, what's going on? The student said, well, at school my teacher made me stay in. I couldn't go out for recess. Child shut down, would do absolutely nothing. Once I addressed that, we could do some reading. By the way, kids need recess. Don't think that just doing more of something is going to make it better. Kids and adults, we need to shut down the brain. The time between the spaces, the rest between the notes are just as important as the notes itself. So kids at home, even if they're struggling readers, they need to have time where they go out and play and do kid things. So their kid brain is a better school brain in school. That makes any sense. But don't think just because they're doing more stuff at home, they're going to be further ahead. No, kids need to be kids. They need to go outside. They need to rest just like adults do. This fight or flight mechanism, it's a natural response, that fight or flight. It prepares the organism to fight or to respond. You see stomach aches and blood shunted away from the brain to the muscles so you can react. I remember as a child having to sing in church, stage fright, all this stuff happened, breathing, couldn't think, voice shaky, rapid heartbeat. It's a physiological, it's good for a stressful situation, but it's not good for learning. Just as I was standing on the top of that 5-story building, I did not learn a thing that they tried to show me. Your brain has less access to higher level functioning. And that stress hormone, that cortisol, it's good for short-term bursts, but not so good in long term. And here are all the things that happen: tunnel vision, fast breathing, tense muscles, relaxation, hand shaking. Yep. Slow digestion. Yes, so you don't have food in your stomach, so you can run, so you can fight, so you can do whatever you need to do. Great for short-term kinds of things. It has a long-term effect. Stress, chronic stress, has a long-term effect on children as well as adults. It's that fear of failure, fear of looking stupid. That is stress. That is a fear response. Oftentimes, stress response can get mislabeled. Oh, he's lazy, doesn't want to learn, immature, a learning disability. Well, we have learning disabilities too when we're afraid. We're all a little ADHD when we're stressed out and afraid. I know I am. Maybe you're not. But oftentimes this fight or flight thing, fear, stress, gets mislabeled as something else. So, some strategies you can do at home. First of all, never frustrate or humiliate your kid. Make sure they're finding books at their independent level or below, and you are clued in. You know your child. When I'm working with a kid and I'm having to test, if I sense they're getting frustrated, bingo, shut down immediately, do something else. If you're tutoring one-on-one, you sense the kid is getting frustrated, shut down, do something else. School needs to be, and home as well, home and school, needs to be a safe place, a nurturing place, so they don't have to feel stupid, all right? And part of that is using the kid brain versus the school brain. Oh no, I don't have to come home and do more of that stuff. I don't have to fail some more at home. No, I can be a kid at home. And don't take away recess. Taking away recess time does not mean they're going to learn more. Just means they're going to be frustrated, humiliate, shut down. Remember those emotional things. Kids need to be kids, away from school and at school and out on the playground. Recess is probably one of the most important things. When they are reading for pleasure or for practice, and they should be practicing reading all the time, what they read should be at their independent level or below. When you and I pick a book from the library or buy a book, we don't read books that challenge us. We read books that we're interested in, that we enjoy, that we can read. So choice of reading material is also important. Sometimes it's choice of what to read. In the classroom, you can say you have 5 books. You choose the one you want to read. Sometimes it's choose to continue. Do you want to continue with this book? It's a stinker? Okay, we'll get another one. There's lots of books, just like you and I. We don't continue books that we don't like. We have the choice to stop. and sometimes when to practice reading and when not. Now, this choice should always be taken, adopt and adapt. Sometimes you can't allow choice, but to the greatest extent possible, you want to have allow choices. Reassure students. You know, don't stress them out. Don't say in front of them, oh, you have a reading disorder. You have trouble reading. You need this. Reassure them. Lots of people have trouble reading. Sometimes kids will pick up on your anxiety if you're over anxious. All right. Doesn't mean you don't have to be concerned, but always try to be reassuring. A lot of people have trouble reading. Not a big deal. Trust is earned, not given. That means you have to establish a relationship. Relationships are another research-based strategy. They trust that you're not going to make them feel stupid. In the classroom, they trust that you're not going to ask them to do boring, meaningless stuff that they can't do, which is usually a whole bunch of drill and skill on phonics stuff that does very little to help them create meaning with print. Yes, you'll get little blips in sounding out word kinds of stuff, but it doesn't translate to real authentic reading situations or to creating meaning with print. And again, people are looking for the program. Some states are even mandating certain programs, which is absolute nonsense. There are no magic programs or super secret, special, one-size-fits-all approaches. There are magic teachers who have a variety of teaching strategies. I know this when I'm working with kids. What I think is going to work with one may not. Kids aren't standardized products. There are magic books that draw people in, draw kids in, and there are individual approaches for individual struggling readers. There are no standardized kids. There are no standardized approaches. Can you imagine? We're going to talk about motivation. So this is a little bit of a transition. A football coach getting his players or her players all motivated before the big game. All right, let's go out there and fail. Let's fail like we've never failed before. 1, 2, 3, fail, everybody. And the cheerleader saying, fail, team, fail, fail, team. Doesn't happen. Motivation. People are not motivated to fail. So what motivates children? Let's understand motivation. It's called the value expectancy theory. This is a complicated way or a fancy way of saying in any mathematical formula product, something times something equals something. 6 times 1 equals 6. If any of these products equals 0, the answer equals 0. 6 times 0 equals 0. 1 times 0 equals 0. So if any of these, the value or expectancy is 0, you can expect motivation to be 0. Value is you value the activity. It's fun. You want to do it. Expectancy, you expect to be successful. This is important that we are developing self-efficacy. Students know that they can do it if they work hard. If all they're learning in school is that they cannot learn, if all they're learning in reading classes they cannot read, this is going to be 0 or close to it. So you're going to have very little motivation. In your reading class, if it's boring, if you only have rotten, boring books to read, even if they think they can read, they're not going to be motivated. So we have to develop a love of books. Teachers' number one job is helping children fall in love with books. Number 2, we have to develop self-efficacy, confidence. We know we can do it. And there's strategies I'll show you another time. Then you are motivated. Value times expectancy equals motivation. So as I said, help children fall in love with books. The other one is the zone approximate development. You don't frustrate students. Here's a task they can do at the independent level. This is a frustration level that even with teacher help, they can't do it. The zone approximate development is just a little ahead of the independent level, that with some scaffolding or support, they can do it. With reading, there's a variety of strategies. One of them is scaffolded oral reading, where you're kind of providing oral support, and I've talked about that in the previous one. And we'll look at some other scaffolded reading experience types of things that you can do to enable a child to read a book that's just a little above his or her independent reading level. Motivation and achievement are highly correlated. That doesn't mean one necessarily causes the other, but children who are motivated tend to achieve more, children who achieve more tend to be more motivated. We don't know the causal relationship is there, but we can't say specifically that one causes the other. But motivation is highly related to positive attitude and persistence. That means you're more likely to persist, to keep trying if something is difficult. You're more apt to have a positive attitude. And remember, positive emotions are linked to enhanced learning. Now, external rewards are good. We had Pizza Hut book clubs and these things, okay? But there's not a lot of persistence, meaning that when the reward goes away, the behavior goes away. They've done this, they found this out with mice and with children. When you stop giving the pellet, the mouse stops pressing the bar. You want to, and there's times and places, just beware of how you're using rewards. If you do this, then you get, if you read for 10 minutes 5 times a week, then you get a special privilege. Ideally, you want to link a reward to a literacy related thing. Like in a classroom, if someone achieved goals and you want to reward goals, this is more than behavior. Did you meet your goal? They get to choose the book or get to be a line leader or get to do something related to literacy versus a specific reward. Because reading should be pleasurable. Reading good books is rewarding in and of itself. That internal reinforcer has greater persistence, meaning you can't take away the reinforcer. They liked doing it. So the mouse will be more apt to continue pressing the bar if the mouse enjoys pressing the bar. Home and school, link reward to a goal versus achievement. Did you meet your goals this week? All right, nice job. When I'm tutoring, I usually say, let's set a goal. If I'm meeting with the child weekly, how many books do you want to read by next week? Or how many minutes do you think you can read? And we have some sort of way for them to record that. So I'm recognizing it and I'm celebrating goal. And the last thing, students in grades 4 and above, there are high-low books, high interest, low readability. High Noon Books is one of the better publishers here. With these students grades 4 and above, oftentimes the only book that is at their grade level are what's called ducky books, emotional level of a first grade. And that, I remember using a ducky book with a 5th grader, and I could just see the fear in this kid's eyes. He didn't want anyone to see him reading a ducky book. So we have these wonderful high-low books, high interest, low readability, usually 1st or 2nd grade. All right, that is a recording of this webinar. Topics for next month's webinar, send me an email. You can visit my website. When in the webinar, it will be in the chat. You can send me a chat or whatever. But I'm have some ideas, but I'm open for other topics as well.